Yo, 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 what's up, yo, what's up, what's up? Appreciate y'all for joining the live. I'm going to share this to my page real quick and we're going to go ahead and get started. How's everyone doing today? I hope everyone's doing well. You might turn that down. All right. Seems like everything okay. The frame rate might be too slow. Let me know. Figure out what's going on from there. All right. What's up, guys? Appreciate you guys stopping by live. I really do appreciate it, like always. And in this one, you can kind of tell what we're going to be talking about by the title, right? And it's going to be about self trust. Now, when I speak of self trust, right, I'm not actually talking about the Instagram kind of self talk in the mirror kind of self trust. Nor am I talking about the excuse me. Let me rephrase that. I'm not talking about the self trust where you're talking about, oh, I look in the mirror and I tell myself I trust myself. No, that's not what I'm talking about whatsoever. The kind of trust I'm literally talking about is real trust. It's real trust. The kind that shows up when nobody's watching, pretty much. You know, the kind that holds people uh, when validation disappears. You know, the kind that really gets people to notice you when the applause stop. Almost. Excuse me, I got some things here. So in other words, this is the kind of trust that I speak on that holds validation when everything seems to disappear, when validation disappears. You know, that kind still acts when applause never comes, pretty much. That kind of trust in yourself is where you build real self-belief, and this is the competitive edge when it comes to business as well. You know, we tend to talk endlessly all the time about confidence, mindset, and belief at that too, but self-trust is a hell of a lot different. You know, this is the kind of confidence where you understand how you feel, right? But the self-trust is how you actually behave. So when you really take a step back and look at it, in the kind of world where it's optimized right now to distract everyone, to sedate everyone, it's more or less, and let alone even outsourcing or even thinking. Excuse me, I had to get this notification out the way. And let alone even outsource thinking, self trust has really quietly become the rarest skill in the room. You know, for instance, right, during this past 3 day AI business summit, I noticed like pretty much all the speakers that were up there, they all had this belief of self trust in themselves, to where they said, "I'm going to go out here and I'm going to crush my goals. I'm going to go out here and I'm going to be better. I'm going to go out here and I'm going to get pressure tested in every aspect to try and make myself a better person." And today I want to talk about what self trust actually is. In other words, why most adults lose it, and how rebuilding it actually changes everything about leadership, business, relationships, shit, even your legacy at that. So this is not a feel good talk. This is literally going to be an adult or grown ass conversation, okay? Because I notice a lot of people want me to try and sugarcoat stuff, and I'm not here for that. I'm not here to sugarcoat you, coddle you, baby you. I'm not in a hand holding business or anything else like that. So the first thing I want to talk about is the lie that we were sold. Because from the time we're young, we're trained to seek external approval. You know, I'm talking about the things we learn from when we're from knee high and on up, right? That means grades, getting the gold stars on our report cards, on social media. That will be getting all the likes and all the comments and all the shares. In business, it will be promotions, the titles. Even if you're in a business where you need these things, certifications at that. And don't get me wrong, none of these are bad whatsoever. They're not. None of these are bad whatsoever. But they come with an unspoken lesson. And I've learned that that unspoken lesson is you are correct when authority tends to agree with you. And in my own observations, that could be furthest from the truth, because over time, this conditions us to outsource judgment. It conditions us to stop asking, does this make any sense? And start asking, will this even be accepted? Is what I'm doing acceptable? That external validation. So we tend to confuse being validated with being right. And we confuse being liked with being aligned. And that's furthest from the truth. Because eventually we reach adulthood. We're all fucking adults here. And we reach our adulthood with resumes or portfolios full of achievements, but an internal compass that no longer works. We tend to hesitate. We over research. We second guess ourselves or the people that surround us. We wait for permission that never arrives. And if you take that step back and look at it from a different perspective and get out of your own perception, this isn't a confidence problem at all. This is a self-trust deficit. Because all of that leads up to, well, I don't believe in myself enough to actually say, hey, I don't need you in my corner validating me and telling me what I'm doing is right because you hold the authority, when I know within myself that what I'm doing is right. And a lot of people get that misconstrued. So what a lot of people fail is that what a lot of people fail to realize is that what self-trust actually is. And the thing is that self-trust is not some sort of arrogance. It's not even some sort of stubbornness that some people tend to think it really is. It's not. It's not even pretending that you're always right either. You know, self-trust is this kind of quiet conviction. And this quiet conviction, this is something that pretty much screams to yourself, I can observe reality accurately, make a decision with the information I have, and take responsibility for the outcome that I'm trying to produce. That's it. No guarantees, no certainty, no fantasy of control, no living in Delulu land or anything else like that, right? So just the competence in judgment and accountability in action plays a major part, because people with self-trust don't always win. They don't. I've been there myself. I've had plenty of failures in my business career, in my personal life, where I say, hey, I trust myself enough, and then I ended up failing. Because, again, people with self-trust don't always win. They just don't abandon themselves when things tend to go wrong. And a lot of people do that because they don't tend to have that self-belief, let alone the self-trust. And that's the major difference. So the reason why adults even lose self-trust is because self-trust is really destroyed in one dramatic moment. It literally deteriorates over time. You know, it's through acts of betrayal. And betrayal could be lying. It doesn't always have to be cheating or backstabbing. It could just simply be lying about something. It could be inconsistency of actions, or through environments where honesty is punished and compliance with somebody who's wrong is rewarded. Excuse me, this frame rate is too low. If the frame rate is too low, guys, let me know. Just let me know right now if the frame rate is too low. Let me double check right now. Doesn't seem like it. Seems like everything's still working good. Okay. So as I was saying, it's you have to make a decision or it doesn't work. Someone begins to mock you or something like that because you know what you're doing is the right thing to do, but yet and still you end up being mocked, right? So you speak your truth or you speak the truth, period. And what that does is it disrupts the group. Now you end up being labeled difficult when you're not difficult at all. What you really did was you just set a boundary. And that boundary is the cause of someone leaving. And hey, if they leave, hey, there's the door. Don't let the good Lord don't let the door hit you with a good Lord split you. I believe that's the saying. So after enough of these experiences, I've witnessed and I've observed even through my own life that the nervous system tends to learn a pattern behind all this. And it's like thinking for myself is unsafe. So in other words, people want you to adopt the hive mindset where everyone moves on one accord. Everyone thinks exactly the same. But you don't. You adapt. You play smaller. You end up diluting yourself. You dilute your instincts. You dilute your intuition. You ask for more opinions than you really actually need. What you end up getting out of all of this is really just delayed action until the moment tends to pass. And eventually you don't even notice that you stop trusting yourself. You call it being realistic, you call it being cautious, you call it being mature, but in reality it's not maturity at all. It's not. It's simply not maturity. It's immaturity. And it's a learned self-doubt. And that's where the cost of not trusting yourself comes in at. It really does, because let's be clear about the cost of not trusting yourself here. When you don't trust yourself, let me repeat this. When you don't trust yourself, you stay in bad jobs longer than you really should. You tolerate misalignment in relationships, which I've done myself. I was just speaking on this the other day in a video. You under pressure work. You follow strategies that don't even fit you because they work for someone louder than you. And you have to remember, what works for them may not work for you, and what works for you may not work for them. But in leadership, this becomes fatal though, because leaders without self-trust over-consult and under-decide. They confuse consensus with some sort of wisdom that they don't even really have. They avoid conflict and call it culture at that. And even still, in business, it shows up as endless rebrands, constant pivoting, buying every single course that comes across your way when you don't even need it, and then you start chasing all these trends like dancing trends and stuff like that. You see, in life, it looks like motion without progress. Busy, exhausted, and you're still stuck. But in reality, this is not a lack of effort. This is a lack of you not being able to internally make yourself an authority. So this is why I say philosophy got this right centuries ago. And this is, again, you guys know I love Stoic philosophy. I absolutely love Stoic philosophy, right? And Stoicism got this right. So the ancient Stoics, I got this right here, right? The ancient Stoics understood something modern culture resists. You control your judgments. You do not control outcomes. So with that being said, Epictetus, he's a Stoic philosopher as well. He didn't say believe harder and the universe will reward you. He said train your perception, not your perspective, your perception. Govern your actions and accept the rest. You see, self-trust lives right there in that little moment. It's not prediction, it's not uncertainty, but literally in disciplined judgment. See, a Stoic doesn't ask, will this work? they tend to ask, is this the right action given my values and information? And this distinction between the two literally means everything. So that's where you end up coming into rebuilding self-trust. And we're talking about the adult way, the grown folk way. Because rebuilding self-trust is not about hype. It's not about hype at all. It's literally about the evidence, the proof. Self-trust is rebuilt through kept promises. It's not built through giving somebody hope or hyping somebody up and then you don't pull through for it. It's literally built through kept promises. Because if you can't keep your promises, how are you going to be able to trust yourself? I mean, and I'm talking about even the small ones, the unsexy ones, the private ones. And this is something you rebuild when you say you'll do something and you actually do it. You set a boundary and you hold yourself to it. You make a decision and don't immediately explain yourself. Because every single time you abandon your word to yourself, your self-trust weakens. Every time you tend to honor it, even when it's inconvenient, that self-trust in yourself is going to compound. And you have to realize, this isn't what I'm saying right now, this isn't motivational. It's literally mechanical. It's all the technical little details behind it. And this is why discipline beats motivation. Because motivation is emotional. Discipline is structural. See, motivation will sit there and ask you, how do I feel today? But discipline asks, what did I commit to? You see, people who trust themselves don't wait to feel ready. They act and then they adjust while they're acting. Because self-trust is forged through follow-through and not inspiration in itself. And yeah, this means boredom. It does. It means repetition. It means saying no to short-term comfort in favor of long-term coherence. And in reality, that's not glamorous, but it is effective. And this is where the boundaries, I believe, tend to come in place too. And the boundaries are proof of your self-trust. And the boundary is usually a decision made visible where everybody can see it. So when you trust yourself, you don't negotiate your values in real time. You don't over-explain. You don't over-justify yourself. You don't even wait for permission. You just sit there and say, this doesn't work for me. Let's move. Let me try and find something else that does. And you allow others to respond however they choose to. I noticed and I observed this, that people who lack self-trust fear boundaries because they fear abandonment. And people with self-trust understand this one concept. Anything that requires self-betrayal to maintain is not stable anyway. It's not stable at all. And that brings me to betrayal and the collapse of trust. So, let's talk about betrayal, because betrayal hurts most when it comes from a confirmed fear you already had or you already have. It's not that they hurt me. It's more or less I knew better and I ignored myself anyway. And that's where the real damage happens. You see, healing betrayal is not about trusting others again. It's not. It's about forgiving yourself and ignoring it's about forgiving yourself for ignoring your own signal and then rebuilding that muscle that listens next time. Because self-trust is not naivete. It's not you being naive or gullible. It's literally discernment with memory. And this is where leadership without self-trust becomes theater. It becomes performative. You know, a leader who doesn't trust themselves leads by performance. They manage perception instead of reality. They chase optics, is what they do. And people who do that are just like so far behind. Let me check the live real quick, because I'm seeing we may have some slow things going on here. What's going on? Looks like we're still running in live. So that managed perception, they manage perception instead of reality. Continuing on, right? So they tend to chase optics instead of outcomes. And that's a big no-no. You know, strong leadership isn't loud. It's literally just clear. And clarity comes from self-trust. You know, when you trust yourself, you don't need to dominate the room. You literally set direction. You hold the line. You let others respond to all of this. I'm actually recording while I'm doing the live too at the same time. So excuse me. You let others respond to this, right? So that calm authority is really, really fucking rare. And people will feel that immediately. And this is where the legacy is built in private, because legacy is not about what people say about you online. That's just gossip at the end of the day. Legacy is what remains consistent when circumstances actually change. You know, that really only happens when your actions align with your values over time. Because self-trust is what makes that argument possible. Without it, you drift. You know, with it, you start to compound and start building on top of it, on top of it, on top of it, on top of it. So the hard truth behind all this, because I'm about to close this out. I got a few things I need to do. No one is coming to validate your instincts. No one. No one's coming to save you. No system is designed to hand you certainty. No authority figure can live your consequences for you, as much as we all wish they could, so we can wash our hands for it and live and get off scot-free. But at some point, you have to realize adulthood begins. And adulthood begins when you decide, I will trust my judgment, act responsibly, learn relentlessly, and stand by myself if need be. And realize this isn't bravado or beating on your chest. That is what you would call sovereignty. Because self-trust is not loud. It doesn't announce itself. It shows up quickly, quietly, and in decisions nobody applauds for. And over time, it becomes unshakable. Literally, that's the work. And that's literally the advantage. Self-trust is literally the last competitive edge that anyone will ever need. And that is going to be the path forward for you to maintain and reach your goals, whatever kind of outcomes you're trying to reach. But with that being said, y'all, that's going to be the end of this. Go ahead, drop down below in the comment section. Hit the like button. Let me know if this resonated with you. Drop a comment in the comment section before, like I already said. Let me know your thoughts on this. Whether you agree, you disagree, you have some extra views you want to put out there. And if you want to get on live with me, let me know. I will be getting on live, doing live streams more than likely now. I'm thinking about getting on every Sunday, Tuesday, and Thursday between 12 and 1 o'clock on Facebook. And then I'll just take this content here and just put it on the rest of my platforms. That's what I'm thinking about doing. 9 times out of 10, it's probably already streaming on my website right now. Yes, the website is still up. I do not know what happened with my domain. I was literally just in the middle of building an AI agent for my website, and somehow the Chris website ended up 410ing my whole entire domain. But it does seem like the domain is still masking the actual website, so you still can click on the domain link that I have, iamshelbyclark.online. It will still take you to the website. I'm going to be sitting here dealing with Chris probably for the next few days, finding out what's going on with him and what's going on with my AI agent. That way, you guys can get all the answers that you need, whether you get it from me or you can get it from my AI agent. But with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, that's going to be the end of this.